Ask me where I'm recording. There we are. All right.
Groovy. Hey, everybody. This is our first SIM. That's an acronym for Symbiotic Integrated Marrying. It's our first SIM podcast, and I'm Monica Clark. I am a equine practitioner, integrated equine practitioner, and also a new SIM practitioner. And we are here with Jamie Watkins, who is one of the founders of Sim Sessions, and Brett Balin, who is, oh boy, Brett is an equine. He's a horse trainer and has been for what, almost 2 decades, right, Brett?
Yep.
Yeah.
Closed in on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's also taken a couple of Tom Mays of integrated equine therapies classes. You've taken foundations in cranial sacral,
Yep.
and Jamie has also taken Tom's equine cranial sacral course and is certified. I still have some paperwork to submit, but by all pretenses should be certified. Dragging my feet on with the pen and paper. And so Brett is also a recipient of 3 or 4 sim sessions, Brett.
I've done 2 sim sessions so far.
Okay. And his wife,
Yep.
Ashley, who couldn't join us tonight because they got a couple sick kiddos all of a sudden. She also has had a couple of sim sessions, right?
Yep. She's in the same boat, has had 2. Yes.
Yeah, fabulous. So we are just having an off the cuff. I've got a few questions here written down, but we're having an off the cuff discussion so we can share with the equine world and get the word out there on what Sims is like and how it all came about. And Brett, I think it's super cool that we're speaking to you, speaking to a man who's a trainer, and I know a little bit of your history, and so we're gonna get to that. And but first, Jamie. So, and I'll just tell you how Jamie and I met. Jamie and I met at Tom Mays, at a Tom Mays clinic. I was TAing last fall, TAing a cranial sacral clinic, and so was Jamie. And she also came to complete her certification, and we met and hit it off and started talking about sim sessions then. And we've stayed in touch, and she reached out to me, I don't know, 3, 4 months ago and said, hey, let's do some sim sessions in your area. So more on that later, but we have become fast friends, and we brainstorm all the time about sim sessions. And I ended up saying, those are my dogs barking in the background. I ended up saying we should really do some podcasts or some videos with our brainstorming sessions, because the stuff we talk about is super progressive and far out, and just in the realm of supporting horses and their humans in the partnership, and how deep we can go with that, supporting the connection. So with that said, Jamie, tell us how Sims manifested and came to be.
Well, Sims started. I was working at a horse rescue, and it was centered around Mustangs, and it's in San Ynez. And I noticed a horse that needed cranial sacral, and the reason that I know that the horse needed cranial sacral is because I've been doing human cranial sacral for uh 27 years. So um it's it's easy to see when a horse's skull's kind of shifted, like one eye is really lower than the other, and this horse was having a lot of unexplainable behavioral issues that had sent it back for training 3 different times. So where I was at, I was like, hey, is there a cranial sacralist, a horse cranial sacralist? And closest thing we could get right at that moment was a chiropractor. And so the chiropractor came out and adjusted the horse, and it didn't help any. And I was like, no, 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 this horse needs a cranial sacralist. So the owner of the rescue was like, well, I think that there's somebody who was here years ago. She went to Idaho. She came back. I think she's in the area working again. And that's where I found Miranda Riddick, who is a graduate of Tom's program for 16, 17 years. She's been doing horses. And so she came out and started working on the horse, and I was like, whoa, I want that. That's the thing I want to do right there. I love this. This is a great system, right? So I took a class in Illinois. I took the very first cranial class in Illinois, from Grace and Bonnie, and it was amazing, wonderful equine cranial class. Can't recommend it enough. It's amazing. So I come back and I'm shadowing Miranda. I call her up and I said, hey, I just got done with the class. Can I come and shadow you? And she was very gracious. She was very gracious. We went to this one barn and she's working on this horse. And I'm asking her while she's working on the horse, I'm like, hey, what's the hardest thing about working on horses as opposed to humans, right? I'm like an eager puppy, like, oh, what's the hardest thing? And she's all like, well, I'll clear these horses. Like she was working on a horse she'd been working on for the last 4 years. I'll clear these horses. I'll get everything done on them, and then I'll come back in a month, and half it'll be back. Half of the stuff that I just cleared will be back. And I'm like, well, that sounds like, what's going on? How come? It sounds horrible. And she's like, to the horse, they say it's their human. She's like, I ask every horse, and they say, my human has this thing. You clear it on me, but then my human gets on my back and it comes back. Right. And so she's telling me this while she's working on the horse, and while the horse's human is standing to my right. And I'm like, you mean this thing? And I put my finger on the lady's neck. I'm like, may I touch you? And then I put my finger on the lady's neck and I'm like, hey, you mean this thing right here? And Miranda's like, I'll be damned, that thing just shifted in the horse. And I'm like, look, what would happen if we got the human and me and the horse and you, and we got them together at the same time and we did sessions? What would happen? And Miranda's like, I don't know. Looks like it might work. So the next week we set up time, and at that same barn with the same horse and that same human, we tried it, and it worked. It worked so well that by the next week we had 4 people, and by the next week we were booked out for days. Like we had 2 days, and then by the next 2 months we were at Brett's doing days of sims. And that's how it's been all along. Now we're headed for Texas. There's in a couple of days we're headed for Megan Warlick's barn in Texas, and what is it? Karen Ashley
Ainsworth. Karen Ainsworth.
Yeah, Ainsworth. Yeah, her barn right in Texas. We're gonna probably do about 20 sim sessions out there. It's gonna be crazy, right? And then right now Megan Warlick's doing a 3-day seminar, riding seminar, because she's one of Clint Anderson's people, or was, and she does riding seminars, right? She's at a barn. Well, that lady and I talked that she's at the barn, and she's like, yeah. So Megan and I were just chatting about sim sessions. How do I get you guys here to Virginia to my barn? So that's how Sims started, and it's actually just been rolling the entire time, just rolling.
Yeah, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And we've had conversations about, what does the second, third, fourth session look like? What is the benefit of continuing, not just having one session where, when you and I have worked together, we've had one man, and that was, I think, a little bit more physically related rather than emotionally, but we've had a lot of emotional releases from women. And so when they get that emotional released, where does the next session and the next session and the next session go after that? So now, and Jamie, you didn't mention, you're not frozen. I thought you were frozen. You didn't mention that you have a master's in acupuncture.
I do. I have a master's degree in acupuncture and Oriental medicine, and I have internships that I've done in China and in Shanghai and Beijing. So yeah, Chengdu, China, in the hospitals there. It was actually it was a really great experience to go over to China and work in the hospitals there.
Yeah, fabulous. So Brett, this is where you come in. And
Brett's giving us the tour, man. I feel
I
like I'm
know,
touring your facility, Brett.
I know, he's a little frozen up,
My
but
my stall cleaner just showed up, and I gotta move spots, or else the 4-wheeler and manure spreader is gonna interrupt us here. So I got to get away from the
oh,
No
barn here for a
worries.
second.
okay. So
No worries.
Okay.
when Brett came on, he told us that he was doing some branding, some really kind of tough dude cowboy stuff, doing some branding, and got kicked in his the side of his
Hey, Dave.
calf,
I need
and
privacy, man.
and then he got
Can you grab the 4-wheeler? I'm trying to talk to these people.
and then he got kicked again doing, I don't know, I might get the story messed up, but then you got kicked again today by like a 450-pound bull. Meanwhile, you got home and your kids are growing up. And he showed up for this podcast. So
I need you away from here.
yeah, there we
All
go.
right, sorry. I gotta let me
No
find a
worries.
spot here so that I can
No
sit
worries.
down and.
You're good.
Look.
The life of a cowboy, the life of a trainer,
All
the life of
right.
the life of a dad.
All good.
All good.
All right.
All good. There you go. Pull up a
Now,
piece of your front porch.
We can see your shoes.
Let me see your bruise, man. I know
Yeah,
you got a
let's
bruise on those legs,
I
man.
no bruise.
I tell you, they were giving you acupressure, man. If
No
there's no
bruise.
bruise after that, they're giving you acupressure.
Right? Okay. Now we're settled then.
Has your low back been bothering you?
Nope.
Or your hips? Your hips or your low back?
Hips a
Because
little
those,
bit. Yes.
yeah. So that's the gallbladder 34, right? That's like
Yep.
that's the master point for our tendons and ligaments in your lower body, like in your pelvic region. So
Okay.
that's what they kicked. Is they were trying to help, man. They were doing their damnedest. They're giving
Probably
you good
telling me
blood
I need to
flow.
take a little bit of a rest.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, my friend.
All
So
right.
you shared with me at clinic, and if I get it wrong, correct me, that you've been training horses for a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
that you kind of were raised up under some traditional cowboys, right?
Very much so. Very much in the. I come from a long line of providers, protectors. No matter what you got going on, you put one foot in front of the other, and we keep going forward, and we get the job done. And I followed. Let me put it this way: I followed my culture to a T up until I was 28, and I ended up at. How could I accurately put this? I ended up working for a horse trainer of whom there's only ever been two cowboys that ever got the nickname King of the Cowboys. One is the Trevor Brazil, who's the most winningest rodeo competitor of all time, and the other one was Doug Williamson, who is a horse trainer that I worked for. And so I think by fate and by destiny, I ended up at his barn working for him for 2 years. And that was really, I like I said, I followed my culture doing exactly what I thought I was supposed to do. And I was, as opposed to following my own path, and I needed to end up at that man's barn to realize that that is not A, who I am, or B, what I want to do. And I mean, I thought that was, okay, his name was Doug Williamson. And my big epiphany there was I thought I wanted to be Doug Williamson. And it wasn't that. It was, I just wanted to ride like him. That was it. It wasn't, I didn't want everything that went along with it in terms of the working nonstop, the, no matter what and I don't want to talk down on this man at all, because he was as fair as anybody I've ever seen towards horses. But it was also, there was the job to do and to go win the cow horse event, etc. And I still use a lot of what I learned from him. But there was something missing there for sure. And so when I quit working for him, if I quit in March, I came home, I helped my brother-in-law for a month, and then I bought a one-way plane ticket to Peru because I just knew I needed to leave. I needed to leave my culture and go find out who I was. And in that time, I also met my wife, of whom we had known each other for about 5 weeks before she went with me to Peru for about 6 weeks. And so again, going down that fate or that destiny path, so to speak, it was, I had to go to work for him to realize that that is not, I wasn't following my own path, and to start to discover my own path, who I am, and figure out the direction that I wanted to go. And so, in that meantime, I stumbled upon a video on YouTube of Warwick Schiller's, and I know that I distinctly remember the title was "Starting a 6-Year-Old Warm Blood Stallion," of which I had some experience with that. That would be as difficult as you can possibly get it as far as starting a horse. And in about a 30 or 45-minute clip, I watched Warwick in a round pen without anything attached to that horse do more than I could ever done in 6 months. And when I saw that, I was like, there's something there. And so I subscribed to his online library. And what I would do is I would watch one of his videos in the morning, and then I'd go practice it on the 7 or 8 head of horses I had in my barn. And there's plenty of times where I was like, I don't know if this is going to work or if I'm going to be able to produce the product that my clientele is used to me producing. And so I would kind of mix. I made sure I still churned out the product that my clientele was looking for, but then it was also practice and incorporate as much of this nervous system regulation, learning how to read the horse, all that kind of stuff. And then once you go down the Warwick rabbit hole, I mean, it's not just him. You go down. It just opened the door for me to start looking at horses completely differently, and it went from me not knowing what was going to happen on the first ride with a colt to I know exactly what's going to happen on the first ride with a colt, because they know the answer to every question I'm going to ask. They're calm, they're relaxed, they're regulated, and it has completely changed my life to where I'm 30. I'll be 38 in June. 4 years ago, my wife and I pulled the trigger on building our own place, facility, all that stuff, and it was something where had things not progressed to that point, I would have for sure decided to go a different route, because I was in my mid 30s, and starting colts is fairly dangerous, and it would have been a risky venture to build my own place without having these methods down and seeing horses in a different light, so to speak. Another big thing for me is I've really got into psychedelics here, I'd say the last 15 years, which to me is just accessing the subconscious and finding out we kind of go through life just doing things, so to speak, without ever making that deep dive into why am I doing that? Is that what I truly believe, or is that what my culture tells me to believe? And since in getting into that, I've tried as many avenues to access that subconscious and to get into my body, and like I said, really find out where those things are coming from. And this is kind of where I'm not saying the sim sessions are a psychedelic, but I believe it is access into the subconscious for sure. It is a sober experience into the subconscious, and really discovering those, like I said, those things that we kind of go through life just acting or behaving in a certain way, and we don't really know why we're doing it, or carrying fears for sure. Maybe not knowing what our purpose is, so to speak. And I think if you can find avenues to cut out the noise, so to speak, and really get inside of yourself and start asking those deep questions to find out find out what we're here for, and finding that connection back to yourself. I would say that's the connection back to your true self is where I think these sim sessions have definitely helped me out for sure, or given me access to that type of knowledge. Let's put it that way.
This is like so super beautiful and really organic and authentic. And you and I had a conversation at clinic about this. You told me a bit about your journey. And so, which is amazing. And it's amazing. I think it's super amazing when a man steps out of a built-in belief system where he's been raised in a certain culture to do this. Even a woman, right? I just step out of that belief system for myself. And I'm going to be 62 in June. And let me tell you, I didn't start early. You know, it was like 12 years ago. I'm like, holy shit, my whole life is blowing up. Who am I? Right. And so it's a journey, and my journey has been absolutely stone cold sober. That was one of the things that had to happen in order for me to look deep. But my question to you, with the sim sessions, at what point in your journey were you introduced to Miranda first
Okay.
in the sim sessions? Like, how did that come in?
Great question. Well, one thing before we get to that, one thing I want to touch on here is and you brought this up to me when we were at the clinic, is I've always been in a hyper masculine culture, and whether before it was horse training and that kind of stuff, it was athletics, I was the pitcher, the quarterback, all those things, right? And from as far back as I can remember, I've always had access to, maybe I've had access to more of a feminine side than most males for sure. And it was, I suppressed that for sure, because that's not accepted in that hyper masculine world. And in the journey in the last 10 to 12 years, and like I said, coming back to my true self, was allowing more the feminine, marrying the feminine and the masculine into my horse training, and weaving that to where it's not too far on the masculine, not too far on the feminine, and trying to find the middle ground that works for those horses. And I had the first horse trainer I ever worked for. He said if I could build the perfect rider, it would be part male, part female, because the female knows when to let off on the horse, and then the male knows when that horse needs a little bit more discipline, whatever it might be. And that was just something I never really realized that was what I was going for. But now here I am at almost 38, and I now am aware that was the concept, or the traits that I was having to weave into my training for sure over the last 10 years. And once I saw Warwick's videos, that's where I was like, oh, that's the other side of the coin right there, that I need to start titrating into my training and figuring out when those horses need you to back off for sure. And so now let's get to the question on how I got into the sim sessions, or and that kind of stuff. I could in my own journey, I've always dealt with a lot of from the time I was little. I can remember always had anxiety issues, but obviously, like, I had no clue what anxiety was until I ended up having anxiety attacks when I was at that trainer. That's why I ended up leaving that trainer's place. I started having anxiety attacks where I couldn't even get out the door to go to work. And then finally one day I called my sister and told her what was going on, and she's like, "Yeah, you're having a panic attack." Like, and so, anyways, we'll move on to how I found the sim sessions, etc. In riding horses, I could always feel the restrictions under me. For sure, whether it be asking the horse to look to the left and they have full range of motion, and then they go to the right and they like barely can turn their head. And it's like, that's not behavioral, of which the way I was taught that's behavioral. You got to teach the horse how to give. He's got to check him up, tie his head around for a little bit, move his feet, that kind of stuff, and teach him how to give that way. It's like, and I would do that, and the horse never got any better. And so I tried every chiropractor, PMF, you name all the therapies. I tried it, trying to get these horses fixed, or to get them freed up and start feeling balanced. And it lasts for a couple days, And I was like, okay, I'm going to have a 48-hour window here where that horse feels good, and I'll try to teach some coordination and whatnot. And then a week later, I'd end up back in the same spot I was prior to that. And so, Jamie, this might be the first sim session that you're talking about. I saw a girl, a friend of mine who worked for Warwick. She posted a video of a horse that when he was loping, and he would lope with his head, I swear, like this, just fully crooked. And then she said she made a post saying, thanks to Miranda Reddig, got this horse fixed, etc. And so I reached out to her and said, hey, what's the deal here? And she highly recommended Miranda. So I loaded up 3 of my personal horses. So the reason I took my personal horses was like I wasn't going to go gamble my clients' money on something I wasn't sure of. And these horses I'd ridden for over a year, so I knew every little nuance in their body, where they weren't balanced. And so I took them over there. Miranda works on them, and I've been around enough people that whether it be trainers, whatever it might be, where they just walk in there and the horse responds in a way that tells me that person knows what they're doing, right? And so Miranda works on them, and I remember at the end of it, I told her, I'm looking for a very specific result here, and I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but if I don't get that result, thank you very much for the work you did on my horses today, but I'm probably not making a 3-hour trip over here to the coast again with my horses. And so, and so anyways, I make a 3-hour drive back, and on the drive back, I listened to Tom Mays' podcast with Warwick. And I remember listening to that podcast, and I was like, if I choose to believe this, then my life will have forever changed on this day. Like if I was on a path this way, that day it just made a 2-degree shift, and we're going a whole different direction here in another couple of years. And so anyways, I get home, and I of the 3 horses, I had one that was in bad shape, one that was kind of okay, and then the other one was, I felt like it was totally fine. And Miranda basically said she pinned him in that order. So I was like, okay, that's pretty good. When I get home from that 3-hour drive home, the one that was in bad shape, I mean, he always kind of carried real stiff, head up, all that stuff. And this sucker climbs off this trailer just gumbied. I mean, just, I've never seen him walk like this before. And I went and I turned him out. And when I go to turn a horse loose, I do this 8 or 9 times during the day. So I take the halter off, I'm turning around, I'm getting back to the barn, going to the house, or catching the next horse, whatever. Took that halter off, and I sat there for 5-10 minutes watching this horse walk around the pasture. And I'm like, that isn't the same animal that got on that trailer this morning when we left here. And so I gave him about 2-3 days off, and then I get on those horses, and I'm like, this is something totally different here. Like this might be what I was looking for. And so a couple of weeks pass, the horses stay feeling like that. I'm like, this is it. This is what I've been going for. So then about a month later, I load up a full trailer load, and I haul them over to Miranda. And when I get out of the truck, the first thing she says to me, she goes, I guess it worked, huh? And anyways, on that second trip, I start talking to Miranda about it, and she's like, you need to go learn how to do this. And so got home after that second trip, and then I felt like I was being called to learn how to do that, just because I constantly am having horses come into my barn, and I was like, I don't want to wait 30, 60, 90 days to get my horses over there to Miranda to see them, because I need to get them fixed like right away so we can move on with the training, what my clients are paying me to do. And so I almost pulled the trigger on going to the class in October, and I can't remember what happened, but I just didn't do it. And then I finally pulled the trigger to go in February for the foundational course. And needless to say, I feel like everybody's who goes in there has the same response. Like, it's a life-changing experience. You just start looking at horses completely differently. You start looking at yourself completely differently. As opposed to thinking that Miranda has some, Miranda is extremely, extremely good at this. I'm not saying I'm Miranda, but like she told me, she's like, anybody can do this. Like, we've all got it. It's just a matter of remembering that you have this skill set. and then back up in. So after I'd taken quite a few horses to her, I started recommending my clientele, a couple other trainers around here. I was like, hey, you guys probably need to check this out if you got some horses that aren't feeling quite right to you. And so I'd scheduled about 3 days worth of horses for her. And I feel like maybe like a week before, Miranda messaged me, says, hey, I've got somebody who works on people too. If you want her to, if you can get like 5 people, she'll come to your place with me. And without me even knowing what it is, like me and my wife are in, and I will find 3 more people. Like, just tell her, let's go. And so I got me and my wife, my horseshoer, and a couple of other people lined up to get Jamie here. And the first sim session was with myself and so I train a couple horses. I train about 6 head of horses for the public, and I always have 1 or 2 of my own personal horses. And one of my most recent personal horse that I purchased was the nicest horse I'd ever purchased in my life. Like, and I knew it from the get go. And anyways, I've had this horse here, and I was like, man, this is my horse that I'm going to really kind of be able to show people what I can do with horses, as far as maybe my business card, so to speak. Right. And, I think when you're trying to step into that true self or your full potential, there's always it's scary. Let's put it that way. It's scary for sure. And anyways, I'll give you my highlight of my sim session with that horse. And it was kind of like an underlying feeling, like this horse is my purpose horse, my horse to really advance what I'm doing and be able to show that to the world, so to speak.
And
so
this was from a training standpoint. Like, have you taken Tom's class in February yet?
Nope. Okay. No. I had no idea. I just had Miranda been working on the horse, and I knew it worked. And so in the session, we get to a part let's say on the left side of my spine, maybe right below my rib cage, and Jamie's there on me, and then I hear Miranda. She goes, "Oh, this is the purpose part," or something along those lines. And I don't know. I don't know if it was Miranda or Jamie who said it, but they're like, "Yeah, he's here to basically go along with you and show people what you can do." And Miranda says, he says he's game if you are, or he's ready if you are, something along those lines, right? Mm-hmm. And so again, when I was talking earlier about the subconscious part, like that's something where I had a little bit of an idea that was there, but it's in the subconscious. It's not in my day-to-day thinking right away. And like I said, where the value to me is accessing that subconscious, the things that are deep down inside of you that you're meant to bring out and show the world, so to speak. And then let's fast forward now to this would have been April. And so this horse is 4 years old. He's the nicest horse I've ever owned. And I would come across a horse of this caliber about every 18 months to 2 years in my barn. So it's not they don't just come in all the time. And anyways, he's 4 years old, and I only had 7 months of training on him, which for that scenario to be the case, like, and the reason I only had 7 months on him is because I needed to pay bills. I needed to have horses in training that customers were paying, and I just didn't have time to get to him. And so about April, I was like, I need to sell Ringo. His name's Ringo. I was like, I think I need to sell him because I just can't get to him. And we could probably use the money, and it's time to put him up for sale. And so a girl reached out to me saying, hey, I want to come look at him. And she shows up on a Sunday, and on that day that I showed her the horse, as I'm riding him, I'm like, I hope she does not buy this horse because he is so nice. It was the best ride I'd ever had on him that day when that girl comes to check this horse out to possibly buy him. And anyways, she ended up being out of her price range. And a couple days later, I'm riding that horse, and I come back in the house and I tell my wife, I was like, I'm doing stuff with that horse that I've never done with another horse. Like, I've never gotten one to move like this, be that relaxed, all that stuff. And at that point, my wife was like, you cannot sell him if you're going to walk in this house and tell me that you've never been able to do this kind of stuff with this horse. And then long story short, I'm like, and I really haven't shown him to anybody else. Like anybody, like, let's say, trainers that wouldn't be able to look at a horse and be like, yeah, you should keep him. You should not keep him, whatever. And anyways, beginning of May, I took him to a friend of mine who let's put it, he knows what he's doing when it comes to training horses. And he sees me ride that horse, and his bottom line is like, you cannot sell that horse, and you need to put the time in on him and go show him. You need to go show people what you can do with this horse, because you're not going to be able to go replace him. You're not going to be able to find another one of this caliber. And long story short, since that day, I finally stepped into that, going all in on myself and starting to show this stuff to the world and to my clientele. I have never been on social media. Not I've been on for sure, but I don't post anything, none of that stuff. And anyways, I did the video for the sim sessions, right? For the review for your guys's Facebook page and that kind of stuff. And then you guys had posted it, and I think you posted on a Friday, and I was like, I'm not ready to share this because because it's scary. It's scary to step into that, right?
Yeah.
And so finally on that Monday, I reposted the video, and the response that I got from the people around me and the people that know me, my clientele, was unbelievable. And it wasn't a surprise. It was just those doubts that you have in the back of your head, the voice that says this is scary, you shouldn't do this stuff, you shouldn't show that to the world, or you're gonna freak some people out, or all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And since then, since I shared that video, I shared another video of me working with a colt the other day, and I was laying on the couch. I think it was last night. Me and my wife were laying on the couch, and I'm laying. I'm not going to say I'm in a bad mood, but I'm not somebody who's kind of walks around super happy. I kind of go about my day, and I'm sitting there laying on the couch, and I'm like kind of smiling a bunch, right? And I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm like, oh, I'm stepping into my true self, and I'm no longer hiding that from the world. And then I've had a couple of texts from the clients, and just saying like, boy, you're I'm trying to think what one said. Just text me yesterday. I think she's like, boy, you're really stepping into some new things here. She's like, kudos to you and all that stuff. And again, the response from the people around me has just been amazing. And then let me hit on one more thing here. Back in a sim. Oh no, this wasn't a sim session. This was just a cranial session with you, Jamie, when we had you here in January, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been rolling around the idea of doing some clinics for people and trying to start showing people just general stuff on how to get your horse to relax, how to get them to connect with you, how to read a horse so you don't get killed. Like, that's a big thing for me, is safety with horses. And I think a lot of people, they don't know how to read horses necessarily. And it's not some big mystery on how to read them. Like, it's fairly straightforward. And it's up until here in the last 10, 15 years, that information wasn't really readily available. And so I'm like, that is, if I were to teach something, that is definitely what I would want to teach. And so back to that cranial session back in January, Jamie, you're going to end up doing the clinics, and you're going to have the people come your way, all that kind of stuff. Long story short, today's Friday. Sunday, I've got 8 people showing up to my place for a clinic, and we're doing I'm making it free to the 8 people because I told them I just want to run through and try to iron things out. How do I want to teach this? How do I'm really, really good with people one-on-one because I can tailor it to wherever that person is at with that and wherever they're at with that horse. And so this Sunday is going to be my first shot at seeing if I can bring a group of 8 people along. So, uh,
This is super, super amazing. Absolutely amazing. And what I really have heard you say in this beautiful, authentic share is that you have been willing to step in to unlock, to get to know like your consciousness, like what are you unconscious to, who are you really, you know, we hear everybody say like peel back the layers of the onion.
yep,
Right? And
yep,
that's but it's I've like I feel like that term is so, you know, it's just been used and used and used, and it's when we are willing to see ourselves and to look at the false self traits that might not be so visible to other people, but they're creating anxiety and contraction and just misalignment. And it might not be visible or even felt so much by the general public. But I know as a highly sensitive person who also has struggled most of her life from anxiety, is it wreaks havoc on the internal system, right? And so when I'm trying to show up in an authentic way with horses, you know, I go back to my first horse at 35, and then I had horses until I was 47 and had to part with them. My nervous system, even though I gentled a wild Mustang during that time period, you know, and I went and watched the video and I went down to the barn and I'm like, well, shit, that didn't work. And I was using Pirelli stuff at that time too. So I don't know if it's like a Buck Brannaman video on how to gentle a wild Mustang. I'm not sure who it even was. And then I had my Pirelli stuff and I'd go back up and I'd watch it. It worked, and the universe sent me like an amazing 15-month-old gelding from Susanville to and the Wranglers helped me pick him. Right, he never kicked, bit, did anything, so that was a blessing. But I just think back as to where myself was so fragmented at that time. I had so much going on. The only place I ever felt regulated was really with that Mustang, not with my Arab who I trail rode or anything. It was really with that Mustang. And, you know, I was the first one on his back. But I think about where I'm in today. I was out of the horses for 10 plus years and then was really swept back into them when I moved back to Placerville, California in 22. I just like the universe is like, yep, we're taking you right back in and we're going to show you all this different stuff. Where I'm at today, because of the work I've done and finding myself and learning how to regulate my nervous system and honor myself, the way that, and I was telling Jamie about this the other day, and I'm saying this with humility, the way that horses respond to me and my energy without even thinking about it is off the hook. It's, you know, and I don't really realize it's happening until somebody watching tells me, nobody can do this with this horse. It was simply putting my hand on the pole of a horse and touching his ears. 23-year-old Arab gelding, right? Nobody can do this with this horse, not even his owner. So what I heard you say is that you were willing to look under your own covers, look under your own hood because of the discomfort. And so when you wrap that back into, like, there's different pieces of your journey, right? And when you wrap that back into your first sim session, right? You talk about, and, you know, Jamie got stimulated and went on the journey with Tom. I was invited to lease a horse 2.5 years ago, and that person told me about Tom. And I was like, gotta go do this. I don't have any idea where the kidneys are at or anything like that, but I gotta go do this. Right. And so here we are now, all practitioners, different places in this journey, all loving horses, all loving personal development, and all experiencing this modality of symbiotic integrated mirroring, where the human is on the table with Jamie, the horse is with me, Miranda, Kim, Perry Elkins now in Texas. So three equine practitioners, you know, and what, so you told us about this amazing journey with Ringo, did you say his name is?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ringo. And how does your experience with sim sessions, you've had two, so how does that play into, we know that you're willing, we know that you're looking, you're searching, you're willing to be seen by yourself and by others, right? And to step into yourself. How do these sim sessions enhance, extrapolate? How do they support your journey?
Okay, so let's just go first on a physical level.
Yes.
My my entire life I've used my body, and I would certainly say I've abused it by overwork. I've been in more horse wrecks than I care to say I've been in, for sure. And I was always under the impression that I had legit physical issues with the muscles, the bones, the tendons, the wear and tear on your body, all those kinds of things. And what continually is shown to me is that the body heals. We all know the body heals. Like, the worst broken bone you can have is a femur, and I think it's healed in like 6 weeks. The actual bone is like healed up in 6 weeks, right? It's the mind trying to catch up and start to use that leg and all that stuff, and that's what really takes a lot of time. Don't quote me on the 6 weeks thing. I feel like I heard that a couple of years ago. Anyways, where I'm going with this is I've been shown time and time again the pain that I feel in my body, of which my number one teacher has been pain. I have, majority of my life I've spent on this earth was in pain, just because I believe it was the universe, God, however you wanted to see it, trying to teach me and point me in the right direction to get me to get on the path with my highest alignment. Anyways, where I'm going with this is all the physical issues that I've had have, the root cause was a psychological, emotional, the last thing that it was the wear and tear on my body, or the getting bucked off of a horse, and any of that stuff. It is, so like I said, the body heals, and it is where the pain was coming from was pursuing what I thought I needed to be to align with my culture, as opposed to myself. And anytime I've strayed away from my true self or my highest alignment, pain showed up. And I always interpreted it as, oh, I've been riding too many horses, or I was shoeing one the other day and she was yanking on me, or whatever. And yeah, maybe I was a little sore, but it wasn't, it was the emotional, or the holding anger or fear, whatever those emotions were that I was holding, and not letting go of, or going in and saying, why is that fear there, or what are you anxious about here? Is it that you don't think your product's going to be good enough for the client, and then you walk around with your back all tight for the next 3 days because they're showing up in 4 days, and it's like, oh, it's my back hurts because I was shoeing. It's no, because you don't believe you are good enough, or you don't believe your product's good enough for your client. And it's, again, like I said, I've been shown over and over and again that the pain that I've felt in my body for majority of my life was always a psychological issue, basically. Psychological or emotional issue.
Right. And do you feel like you were transferring that to the horses?
Oh, I'm sure I was. There's no doubt. No doubt.
Did that get brought into your awareness during the sim sessions?
Oh yeah. And here's the other thing. I always thought of it from a biomechanical standpoint, whether it be my issues or the horse's issues, that it's muscles, bones, tendons, something's tight here, something's tight there on their right front shoulder, whatever it might be. I never even thought about the organs. I never even thought about horses having organs. Obviously I know they did, but it never even dawned on me. Like, and then you go into the Chinese medicine and all the emotions that are connected with each organ. And um okay, in one of the sessions, I I kid you not, I could feel feel my lung. Where am I? Where's my camera at?
We see you.
Okay. I could feel, if that was my lung, if this was the bottom lobe of my lung, I could feel it relax and lay down. And it's like that was there was an emotional holding issue there. And then um, so again, let's say a trapped emotion there, and then you've got a lung that's tight, and then that lung doesn't breathe fully, and then you're short of oxygen, and then your body's overloading with carbon dioxide, which is going to switch you over into a sympathetic state, and it's just this snowball. And where it played into the sim sessions played into my work after that with horses was, instead of looking at it as a, like I say, a strictly biomechanical issue, it's um is that horse tight on the left side because I'm tight on the left side? Like, what is, okay, so now go get into your body here before we go into whatever gymnastics exercise I want to get in with my horse. It's like, check in with yourself first. Okay, I'm good. Now let's go to the movement. Let's see what we got there. And then also, just from the let's just say how I looked at a horse prior to this, it was always, the client is bringing me a colt to start, and it's my job to get this horse gentle, safe, and install the steering and the brakes for the client. And it was more so of, I've got the horse here, I'm going to work with it, I got to teach it, train it, etc. And anybody who's been around horses, you know how powerful they are, not from a physical standpoint, but just from an energetic and uh connecting with nature standpoint, maybe is how I want to say that. And I quit looking at them. I started seeing them for who they truly are. Let's put it that way. I quit seeing them as an animal that comes in and I need to, like I said, need to train it to do X, Y, or ABC, whatever it might be. And I think I started giving them more respect, so to speak. And I don't think I wasn't disrespecting them by any means or treating them badly, but truly seeing them for who they are and the power they carry, and how much they impact our lives, and the, like, how much they carry what the horse or the owner or the riders have. Like, it's it's mind-blowing when you really get into it, to know that they have that power in them, and that they can connect with you on that level, and that they are willing to carry your shit, basically. Like,
It,
it's
it,
and then
it, yeah.
to the okay, back to the respect, the when I say my respect for them has changed, because that's not, it's a noble thing to do, to carry that for that person, and B, it's, those are our deepest, darkest fears, whatever they are, and they just willingly are like, yeah, put that on me, bud, I can carry that for you. Like, if you're not ready to let it go, I'll carry it.
Yeah,
And it's just,
to their detriment. And
dude, there you go,
unless they
you
start,
said it.
and then they can start, bucking us off. I had that happen to me. I had a horse that just started bucking me, my first horse when I was 35. And the trainers would ride him and tell me he's fine, and then he'd buck me again. Well, I'm probably carrying all this tension, and he could feel it, right? And but what I heard you say, and is that you started seeing yourself in a different light, your true
Mm-hmm.
self, and stepping into your true self. And then you started to see the horse as a more whole being, and not just a worker bee, because in your culture, you are a worker bee. And I still hear you say that you're a bit of a worker bee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you started seeing yourself differently and honoring yourself differently. And then you started seeing the horse differently. And so there is the symbiotic mirroring, right?
Yep.
And there is the magic. And I really want to, like, have Jamie speak to some of this because she's out here doing
Yes, please.
speak to it. Thank
Yeah. So yeah. So it's really good to kind of get a full background on your journey, first of all, Brett. Some of that stuff I've heard, some of it I hadn't. And so thank you. I appreciate it more than you know. So here's here's the fun, right? The fun is that I've been doing people for so long, and I've been involved in horses since I was a kid, right? Showing 4-H. My first horse was actually was third generation in my family. So my grandma owned his mother, my aunt owned his grandmother. So yeah, he was bred into my family, and he was my horse I grew up on. So I've had horses long time, and I almost sometimes feel like I should dig up his bones and apologize to him because I was a kid on him. But anyway, so the thing about Sims is this is that I've been working with humans for a long time, and I've known horses, and getting into the field. So when I work with humans, I work with their energetic fields. When I learned acupuncture and went into Oriental medicine, it was because I already kind of had a background in energy healing, and I wanted a system to put that background in. And I wanted to understand what I was seeing and to kind of get an idea of how that system worked. And Oriental medicine has so many intricacies, and it's its own cultural evolution, right? It's its own cultural um, offering from the cultures that contributed to it. Ayurvedic contributed to it. 3,000 years of just people observing nature, observing animals, observing people, observing how the seasons changed, and all of these things. So I really wanted to understand that. That's why I did that little thing on five element theory, because that's the thing that drew me in to acupuncture, was the fact that I'd already had a background in understanding that, watching my horse growing up and understanding the seasons changing. And I was in a farming community, so you always watch the weather, watch the seasons, watch all of the things happen on the farm, and you get into the cycle of it. And Oriental medicine had that. Chinese medicine has that built into that five element theory, and into the yin yang theory, which is what the current iteration of Chinese medicine is. But how that led me to Sims is that I understood that systems interact with each other, that all the systems interact with each other. And if you've got a wry neck or a bad back or something, if a cow kicks you in the leg, right? There's no random circumstance of it. It's all part of a system, right? And those animals you're interacting with are part of that system, right?
you.
Those the animals that gave you wake up call on gallbladder 34, right? They're part of that system. So viewing viewing the world from that way, as an integrated system, nothing is everything has a gift for you, right? Cows kicking you, it's got a gift for you. Everything that happens in your life, it's got something for you. And so this is what Sims is, right? When I stood there, because there was no reason for me to be at that rescue. There was no reason. I had a horse of my own. I was just at the rescue because I had some extra time, and I thought, well, where can I give my time? I'll give it to this rescue. And there happened to be one that I had passed. The hilarious thing is, I'd passed this rescue for 15 years driving to work. And I've always thought, oh, I should go there sometime. For 15 years. Oh. And then one day I'm like, I got some time. Let me go in there. So I went in and I talked to the lady, and I wound up doing some stuff with her, and then this horse came up, and it was like wow, yeah, I can see what's going on with that horse. And that's what led me down the road, right? And but there was no, the whole system was working towards what I'm doing now. Just like Brett, your whole system was working towards, you can see your path now, where it was coming and where it was headed, right? Monica, you too, right? You can see where everything that happened in your life had a gift for you, whether it was a painful thing or a not so painful thing, or multiple breakups or no breakups, or all the things, right?
All
All
the
the
things.
things where your life looked like it was going to hell in a handbasket, and and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, that brought me here, and here is pretty cool. And
So
it's
so
the same thing with Sims, right? It's the same thing.
so there's the message. Like when we bring this back to the simplified 1 + 1 = on the chalkboard, we go back to trusting the process, stepping into the unknown, being, I'm going to use the word brave and courageous enough to explore parts of ourselves that we might be afraid to see, or things that we're carrying as survival traits, belief systems, where we've pounded the square peg of who we think we are into the round hole of life. And if I don't keep splintering pieces of myself off into this round hole, nothing's going to be okay. And for me, as a new sim practitioner, and watching, participating in the process on the horse, like going back to this lung thing, right? Like literally being on a horse's lung and feeling, okay, there's grief here, lungs hold grief, and I'm feeling grief. And Jamie's on the female human and saying, hey, so and so, are you holding on to some grief? And we open the floodgates for that human being. Her horse opened the floodgates. I mean, she cried through the rest of her session, and then reported back to me that she cried on and off through the rest of the day after getting back from a very long trip to the Caribbean, and had to run errands that day to like restock her ranch and everything. And she was like an on and off faucet. So, and then there's that part where when we have that first, oh my gosh, are we continuing, are we going to continue to be willing to look, to dig deeper and to look deeper, right? And so that leads me into the question of, why would a horse and a human come back for a second, third, fourth, fifth sim set? Like, why, Jamie or Brett? Both?
I don't know, why'd you come back, Brett? Because you were lapping your ass off to the first one, so why'd you come back for a second one?
Because as far back as I can remember, I've been trying to make sense of this world of my life. What am I doing here? I think I told you the first night when you were staying here, Jamie, I was like, I know I wasn't put here on this planet just to go labor, just go be a laborer. And I've always known that there had to be more. There had to be more. And we can get so caught up in the day-to-days, whether that be your job, being a mom, a dad, whatever it might be, taking care of animals, you name it. And none of that really, I would say our current society doesn't allow for that quiet time to sit and reflect and go inside of yourself. And again, I keep saying it's to go into the subconscious and find out what is going on. We just don't have that time to get quiet and be with ourselves. And I kind of started to access my subconscious, say from 38, say about 12 years ago, 10 years ago, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm here to do, to discover my true self, and now that, and I wouldn't have said this 10 years ago because I didn't know the language, but discover my highest alignment, my um again, like I said, what am I here for? And for me, it honestly, uh, to get down to the just absolute basics, it was trying to find a reduction for the pain in my life. And where was that coming from? Because like I said, I eventually found out that it was not a my I've got scar tissue, whatever you name built. It was the what are the things that I'm carrying with me that I don't need to carry anymore. I can let go of that. And my life has every time my life has gotten better, it was when I dropped whatever that stuff that I was carrying, whether it be the grief in the lung or not stepping into my purpose. And then I'm carrying that tension in my back, whatever it might be. And it was pain has always been my teacher. And it's it was just finding my way. That's why, and so I it's to have that time to really connect with your horse and have them inform you of, hey, bud, here's some stuff you're not looking at because I know you're a little busy and you got some stuff going on and your kids need you, but hey, we need to address this because this is some big stuff. This is the stuff that we're meant here to grow and to learn and try to learn whatever lessons that we came here to learn. That's what it's come down to for me, for sure. And
I
and my
have,
life has only gotten significantly better every time I've gone in and really asked myself what's going on and resolved that issue. My life has gotten significantly better, like over and over and over again. And so I'm addicted to it. Let's put it that way, like straight up. Like I I I
it's
I
an addiction.
always want more because I want I see the way the world interacts with me differently when I make those changes and let go of that stuff.
Mm.
Things open up and then I'm sitting on the couch and I'm smiling with my wife. Like that's the person that I love the most in this world. I let go of whatever it was I'm carrying and then I'm there and I'm present and I'm with her and then I get to see her for everything she truly is because I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just not carrying something that I'm not necessarily aware of. And then I get to have the experience, like I said, at just a simple Wednesday or Thursday evening with my wife. And it could have been a normal Thursday. And instead it's like, I look at her and I see my soulmate, the person I'm supposed to be with. And then I walk into my round pen the next day and the horse the person that dropped off the day before and they're like, yeah, this thing's pretty wound up, like we can't really touch her and they have to back the trailer up to the round pen and I bring her in there and we just hang out and all of a sudden she's rolling on the ground and like the client's like, well, I've never seen her roll before, like, and it's
Yes,
just the
yes.
it's
That that was gonna be like, first of all, this has been amazing. We're gonna like close up here pretty soon, but this has been amazing. And to listen to you share your story so openly and succinctly and share your beautiful masculine, divine feminine balance, which I picked up. You know, I told you I've got 3 boys and 2 of them are older than you, but I picked up on that really quick, like, man, you were the real deal.
you did.
You got to teach them business stuff, right? You got to teach them you are the real deal, and you're young, and it's vibrant, and it's beautiful, and my so we like super appreciate you, and we're gonna do this again, and my question to you, like in a nutshell answer is, and you just kind of threw it out there at the end about how the horse just has to be backed into the arena, right? And it's all over the place. Next thing you know, it's like exhaling and rolling around you and stuff. But you also talked about how you've had some of your best rides on Ringo. So what I'm curious about in a nutshell is, how has the energy and the frequency, I'm speaking a lot of woo stuff right now, but the energy and the frequency connection between you and Ringo or any other significant horses that you work with, but you had your session with Ringo, right? Okay, so
Yes, both of them.
what has shifted there from an energetic standpoint? Because we've talked about how you've shifted, how you guys have had rides, but when you're together, what is the frequency that can you sense a shift in frequency and energy?
My, I don't know if I necessarily want to say my lowest version or my lowest self, but let's say not my best self is me just going out to the barn, lining the horses up and rolling through them. My highest self is walking out to the barn, getting the first horse in the round pen. Time, I would, here's where I would put it. I would be very cognizant of the amount of time I'm spending on a horse for sure. Cause I'm like, okay, I gotta get this one done by 8, this one done by 9, this one done by 10 in order to get in the house and be there for dinner and hanging out with my kids and all that kind of stuff. I quit worrying about that. And I now am trying to access where my highest self is when I walk into that session. And I'm trying to access that same thing with my horses. And in that, the time has disappeared, so to speak, and now the sessions are shorter. I'm done with my days a little sooner. There's still plenty of chores to do, for sure. There's plenty of chores to do. But the I walk in, I make sure we're on the same page. That energy is at the same level. If they're up here, and then okay, I need to come down. We need to get here, and it's I would say matching energies more so now, for sure. It's because I know that they need more than I that connection, that seeing what is going on for sure. That needs to be established before we get into the gymnastics. Though we're gonna turn left, right, back up, walk, trot, lope, whatever it might be, and the the I would say I am now more cognizant of the ground below me, if that makes sense. The and I would say now when I'm working with a horse, I'm pretty much dialed into him, and I've got horses either at my tie rack or they're on the stall, the paddocks along my arena, and just my awareness of everybody's energy at the same time is way more than it ever used to be. I can be working on a horse and I can hear somebody else in the paddock and be like, "What's going on over there?" Like, and it used to be need a loud noise or somebody kicks a stall, and now it's like, okay, I can kind of feel something over there. Like, let's go check in on something. Like, it's brought a whole new level of awareness of, like I said, getting away from the straight training mindset into let's check in on everybody here before we start the day. Where am I at? Where's my horse at? Is today the training day? Or do we need to do some craniosacral work? Do we need to do some acupressure work? All that kind of stuff.
I love this. I love it. It's just all beautiful and amazing stuff. Jamie, do you got anything? Anything else?
No, it's amazing conversation, and I the reason that I do this work is because I love these conversations. I love seeing how things shift for people, and I love hearing that in some small way I was there, and I helped bring through some change.
Yeah. It's amazing. And Brett, I do remember you when you came, you went to Foundations first where we all froze our asses off. And God, it's terrible. And we got through it. And then when you came to Cranial, you shared with us that you were working on like your 6 horses or whatever that you had in training. You would just do 20 minutes of
Mm-hmm.
you were practicing on them
Yep.
the key points. and
Mhm.
you had seen in them, just being present with them and practicing. And I shouldn't say just, because the intention and the acupoints and the melding is just incredible work. But you're out there practicing on them and dedicated to this. And you talked about when you came to cranial, the huge shift that you saw in the horses.
You know, I talked to Miranda. I had a question on working on a horse a couple weeks ago, and I had Miranda call me because I had tasked the question. I told her, is like, I'm still have no clue really what I'm doing when I go to put my hands on the horse and that kind of stuff. I go, but it appears, and I get unbelievable responses from them. I mean, just the yawning, the eyes rolling back, the licking the lips, the releasing, all this stuff. And I told her, I was like, it appears that all they need me to do is like either get on these points, find where the pain is, and just see it. All they are requiring of me is to just say, I see that.
They're
Yeah.
meeting
Like
you
there's
at what you know. They're meeting you at what you know, right?
yes.
The horses
Hmm.
will always hold you responsible for what you know, but what you don't know, right? They'll take responsibility for, right? So they're
Yep.
and that's exactly how it works. I mean, how do you think Tom came up with the Tom system, with the integrated equine therapies? There was there's no, burning bush on a mountain, I gave you tablets. There was nothing like that, right? It was all just putting his hands on horses with intention. And
Yep.
that's the foundation of it all, right? That's the foundation of it all. I put my hands on humans with intention. I have some
Yep.
knowledge to back it up, but you know what? The intention's there and I just follow that, right? And so it's the beautiful thing about horses is that they will, whatever knowledge you got, they'll use it. Just
Yep.
all you have to do is go in with a good intention, like, hey, I'm here to help. What can I do? This is what I'm feeling. Just gonna move my hands around, right?
And sometimes I had this one mare, sometimes they will lead you. I had this one mare when I was up at this barn with many pasture horses, 3 pastures full of horses, amazing horses, living like horses, in pastures.
Hmm.
And I would go up there and practice. And the horses come to clinic. And so she said, come up here and practice. So I was up there, and this one mare, just dead lame, old and very crippled, hard time walking. I was like you at that point, feeling a little lost. Like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. And the mirror goes, okay, all right. And so I was on her, I had my right hand on her heart and my left hand on her chest, and she drags me down into her shoulder, and then she brings me into the top of her leg, and I'm holding there, and she sucks me in, my hands in with the most divine frequency. I'm literally in a squat position. I'm in my shorts, flies all over me out this field. I got the other horse over here holding space. And she sucks me in so deep, I go into this meditative trance. And I'm thinking, my left brain's like, you're not on Tom's protocol. You're not on kind of a protocol. You're doing nothing. And my right brain and the horse are like, shut that up.
Hmm.
Quiet down, because we're doing something here. So and I was videotaping at that point. She takes me into this frequency and shows me this divine vibration in my hands to where I am in tears, which isn't hard to get me. But I'm in just like amazed tears. And I hear her tell me, you already know this. I'm showing you what you already know. So she
Hmm.
took me there on her body. She kicked the protocol out. I don't know. She was doing things for me. I was just matching the frequency in there, but she was completely being a conduit for what we are all capable of, what Tom teaches us. And even, the first time I did a sim session with Jamie, which wasn't that long ago, we talked about it and talked about it. And she came up and we spent the night before just like, rah, 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 and my stomach was twisted up. And I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. My left brain was just so big and so loud. I don't even know if I slept. And I get my hands on the horse, And literally as a sim practitioner on the horse, yes, I have to know all of my stuff, right? But I'm not in a protocol. And it took Jamie and I a few sessions to get that down. Like I'm not in a protocol. I am simply trusting when the horse says, go to his gut, go to the gut. And I'm like, go to the gut. I tell Jamie, go to the gut. I got intestines. And I tell her, I've got over fermentation in the gut. The horse is telling me there's over fermentation. What's going on with the human? And Jamie goes, yep, got some stuff going on in the gut over here. So we're working and clearing it at the same time. And the horses are doing this, right? So if I get out of my ego, whether my ego is saying which is mostly what my ego does these days. You're not good enough. You don't know shit. You can't do this. You're not as good as Sally, Jane, and Joe. And that's the shit my ego does, right? So in Sims, the horse is like, there's no time for ego. When she's on the human and I'm on the horse, there is no time for ego. Otherwise, you're dead in the water. It's like you're live. You got to either sink or swim here. And to be able to have this divine being, because horses to me are the most incredible divine beings. They're just amazing. To be able to have this divine being, the first love of my life, tell me, okay, it's the kidney, go there. Or if we got grief in the lung, go there. And to not second guess that and to trust it and work with another practitioner and then see the horse yawning and eye rolling. The human can't see what's going on with their horse, right? They can't see all the releases that their horse is having. I'll tell them when I'm on the horse, but then to have Jamie confirm in the human, or we go back and forth, she'll tell me, okay, I need some help with the blood in the rear end. And I hadn't taken the rear end course yet, right? I just got done with osteo 3 and 4. So now I got rear end. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask for blood and I'm going to follow it back to the rear. And she says, thank you. Thank you. So that was all attention. Because it's all.
Do you remember the first time? Do you remember the first time you realized that a horse's organ can roll in the way that a human's organ rolls, and not in the way the horse's organ rolls?
Yes.
Like the first time that happened, that was hilarious because I'm like, okay, so we're on the liver. And the liver's, she's like, what is that liver doing? I don't, what is this? What is this liver? I don't know what that, I said, that's the way, I'm like, describe it. She describes it rolling. I'm like, that's the way a human liver rolls. You're experiencing the human liver roll on the horse. And so that's exactly what's happened. And then the first time she goes over that, we're doing the getting the cranial rhythm. Like she gets the cranial rhythm first, and then I go on to the human. And I'm like, so I asked her, I said, so did that rhythm change? She's like, okay, I got full rhythm. Oh no, now the rhythm has completely stopped. I'm like, yes, that's the human rhythm. That human has completely stopped you. There's no rhythm in the human. You got nothing. Right. And so that was the first time when she's like, oh shit, we're in the field, aren't we? Yeah, that's the sim field. That's the sim field right there. That's the connection, right? It's super simple when you're feeling the cranial rhythm and you're like, oh yeah, we got beautiful, we got love. Oh, now it's doing this, or now it's doing that. You know,
or the heart. I'll be feeling the heart roll of the horse, and the next thing I know, she's on the human, and I'm like, oh, we got a blocked, sludgy heart. It's slow, and we even had like a juggler vein that had some blockage when we were working on the husband, and I was on the husband's horse, and he said his cholesterol and everything was good, and we're like, okay, well, we cleared it because it felt pretty sludgy. And it did, yeah, but we cleared it. And so the point is, like, these beings are so divine. So they're willing to step into this healing modality just as much as they're willing to carry the shit, and it's like, it is our responsibility as human beings that are partnered with equines. It's our responsibility to the equine collective to be able to look to meet them in their frequency, to meet them in their sacrifices, to bridge that gap and transcend and alchemize it so that there is a flow that serves both purposes. And of course, when a human is willing to step into their own healing, that serves the human collective. And then if they're partnered with an equine, it's serving the equine collective, because the equine collective has been serving the human collective for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, we could go on and we can stop the recording and chat for a little bit. You want
I think we've gone into Wulan, but
yeah.
Brett, you sure you want to stop the recording? Are you sure you want to stop the recording? Yes, you receive an email notification when the cloud recording is ready. Okay, yes.